We're back at the Association of Trust Organizations annual meeting in Asheville, and one word is on every leader's mind, and that word's growth. But for many trust companies, growth presents a paradox. The more successful you become, the more operational drag on your business can pull your best people away from what they do best, which is serving clients and building relationships. So how do you scale your firm without sacrificing service? How do you create capacity for your teams to focus on the future? Our guest today is Dan O'Brien. Dan is with AssetMark, where he partners with financial institutions to build strategies for growth. He has an on-the-ground perspective on what works and what doesn't in today's market. So here to share a playbook on how fiduciaries can leverage a strategic partnership to unlock new efficiencies and supercharge growth is Dan. Thanks. Welcome to the show.
Rusty, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I think you're going to have a lot to share, and this has been a really good conference. So I guess let's start with this. What's one thing you've taken away from the conference? You've certainly been in some of the sessions, and what seems to be top of mind?
Well, I think you opened with one of the biggest ones, and that's growth. And we heard that throughout the speakers today of how do we focus on growth, whether it's revenue growth, asset growth, client growth. It's all about growth. And unfortunately, many firms, whether you're a financial institution, trust organization, RIA, broker-dealer, you struggle with successful growth strategies across the board. So I think that should be a takeaway from everyone at this conference about how they drive growth in their respective organization.
Oh, gotcha. That's perfect. So in your role, I suspect you're speaking with trust companies just about every day about their biggest challenges. From your perspective, outside of that idea of growth, and as you're looking at the front lines of what they're doing, what is the most significant headwind to these firms and institutions that they're facing right now?
Yep. I think the biggest headwind that we see is a lot of these firms are focusing on running the business, and they're spending a lot of time actually just executing the business and not focusing on things that matter and growth strategies. So outsourcing, creating partnerships with strategic vendors that can help them with things like investment management, can help them with operations, risk assessment, can all help to drive profitability up, revenues up, client stickiness, things of that nature. We see successful firms, and you heard it today with the panel. Successful firms that are kind of seeing these trends are implementing integrated platforms with CRM tools, financial planning tools, and investment management solutions, all in line to improve workflows and create better scale.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I've been talking to a number of folks today, and I've heard similar things. There is this idea that they need to create capacity, right? And they need to position people in the right roles that are going to not only help their clients most, but also going to help the legacy, the culture, and the future of what these firms look like. Are there a couple of strategies that you see people using that kind of are best in class that you can share?
Sure. I think one area that, whether you're a trust officer, whether you're a registered investment advisor, is having a good strategy around segmenting your client base.
Yeah.
So you're spending the right amount of time with the right clients, right? So a lot of advisors don't do this very well. They want to try to take everybody, and that just doesn't scale a practice, right? And in the industry, we see about 70 to 80% of the G2, the next gen that come in, fire their parent's advisor.
They do,
right? So that's not a great trend, but a good segmentation strategy kind of helps mitigate some of that risk, builds deeper relationships, keeps clients sticky, and helps an advisor really build their practice out.
Yeah, and I think that there also is sometimes some internal conflict with regards to being a fiduciary, and all people should get all things the same way all the time.
That's right.
And I don't think that's necessarily true. That doesn't. I think segmenting your business doesn't mean you're not being a fiduciary.
100%, right? Like for instance, a lot of trust organizations and bank trust firms come to us and say, "I'm spending so much time on what we call small accounts,
right?
That are agency accounts. They view a small account as let's say it's less than $200,000, right? And that's where we come in to help. We have a great small account solution that enables them to offer a very low cost model portfolio geared to these small accounts and kind of get it off their desk so they can focus on the $1 million plus relationships and larger households, which is really what drives their revenue.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So let's kind of put a little bit of a playbook together for fiduciaries and talk about a solution. So you help these institutions partner with AssetMark. For a trust company considering this path, what does a successful partnership look like, and how does it directly translate to a stronger value proposition that they may have in the market?
Yeah, that's a great question. Success can vary across different firms, but I think one thing remains the same is it's still a need for a high quality performing money manager and set of portfolios that gives you a balanced access to institutional grade firms and a solid asset allocation strategy. So that's what we do at AssetMark. We're one of the larger turnkey asset management providers in the business, and we bring that investment grade or institutional grade product set, solution set, access to all kinds of different strategies that advisors just can't get on their own.
Yeah.
And so that's an area that we try to always go down the path and help them understand what we can bring to their practice. Like, we don't have to take over everything. They can outsource a portion to us, and so there's a lot of different ways to kind of implement these solutions into their business without losing control. They always talk about
right.
If I give it to you, I lose control. Well, that's not necessarily the case.
No. And as a matter of fact, they're probably, I guess, in some situations, they're probably more in control at that point. I think just as there are experts who are trust administrators and they understand that process and the legal issues. There are also people who are experts on the investment side, and having them in that kind of quiver is really one way to differentiate. I also liked kind of your idea, and I'm going to navigate this one a little bit, but being able to deliver that deep and personal expertise on the investment side and the trust side together combined is part of a really powerful value proposition. And I think that the investments don't matter. I'm a trust administrator. I mean, maybe that's your key. Like, you need to ask for some help.
You need to ask for some help, right? You can't be all things to all clients, right? So in some cases, outsourcing makes a great deal of sense, and you can get access to products and money managers and solutions that you just aren't able to get up on your own. So that brings instant scale. Instant access to the high quality solutions that a client looks for in customizing a portfolio depending on who they are.
Yeah. So, and I think that scale, people ought to be clear about what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean it's just the investment vehicle. It might include marketing support. It might include training. It might include administrative support. It's access to experts when you have questions or your clients have questions. There are a lot of opportunities.
There's a lot of opportunities. So we do a lot of thought leadership pieces, market insights, best practices on things like mentioned, like client segmentation, implementing high net worth solutions into a client portfolio. How does that work? Private markets access, tax management services, direct indexing. So there's all these like custom strategies that we've got the benefit of seeing across all the different channels, whether you're an independent advisor at a broker dealer or whether you're a registered investment advisor. So we're able to take that kind of hands-on knowledge across the other channels and apply it into the bank trust space.
So a key part of business development is the story you tell. How do you advise trust officers to explain the benefits of an outsourced investment model to their end clients and beneficiaries who might be used to something a little bit more traditional of an in-house approach? And is it that even a conversation they need to have?
I think it was a big conversation point for some clients. I think it's become less so over the years. It's really a client and a relationship business that the advisor is in. And when you introduce and say, hey, look, I can get you access to the products that you need based on your financial plan or your goals or objectives in investing. When you have those kind of resources and you bring them to the client and they've been properly vetted with a robust due diligence process, and giving them access to alternative investments and private markets, tax loss harvesting, small accounts, and you explain the benefits to the client, I think it becomes less and less of a sticking point, or whether you do it in-house or whether you outsource it. Because there's just so many high quality money managers in the business, and that's really what our platform is about, being in that curated platform to give clients access to the best of the best.
The way you've explained it and the way I've understood it is this model does allow the trust officer to remain the primary and trusted relationship manager, just now happen to be supported by a powerful team of
That's
specialists.
that's exactly it, right? So the structure is typically, instead of hiring a team of analysts and CFAs, the bank trust firm has a portfolio manager, and they work with us to build the ideal portfolios. Right. There's usually a set of them that work for their client base, right? So their input and their guidance and their suggestions, we take that in and we build what they ask.
Yeah. So I think it would be helpful for you to explain what the service model is at AssetMark, and what does that relationship look like with the trust officer or the trust organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when you have a relationship with AssetMark, what comes with that is a complete service team. So there's transition management, there's business consulting, there's practice management, there's service, there's content for end investor. There's content focused on the trust officer and the advisor. So that service model stretches across a variety of components at the firm, and you get a dedicated contact into each of these teams to help you build out your practice.
Yeah, really white glove service.
It is a white glove service.
Yeah. Yep. How does this line of business or this channel at AssetMark compare to how you work with RIAs or broker dealers?
Great question. This is a relatively new channel for us. We just launched it in September, October of 2024. And we're rapidly signing up clients. You may have heard about our strategic partnership with the Accutech Cheetah platform. So that delivers an end-to-end, fully integrated, single sign-on, two-way communication between the Cheetah platform, which is the trust accounting system at many of these bank trust firms, and AssetMark, where you open up new accounts, you can do portfolio management, investment management, get access to all content. But at the end of the day, all that flows back into Cheetah as a system of record. So that's a unique aspect that we don't have a lot of deep integration on the RIA side or the broker dealer side. They use us as an outsource partner for a TAMP. This is a kind of a first of its kind in this space where we have such robust integration.
If we're thinking about the future of institutional growth and looking at the trends you're seeing in the market, what is going to separate the trust companies that thrive and grow over the next 5 years from those that stagnate?
It's a topic I just outlined, and what we heard here today is you have to have an integrated, fully functional platform that scales across the functions, right? So CRM tools, planning tools, investment management tools, risk assessment, all of that entire technology stack needs to be integrated for you to scale your business and grow.
Yeah. So there is a relentless focus on core competencies. It's kind of how I read between the lines.
Yeah, core competencies, and in this particular segment, when you look at these banks that are, they're usually smaller, right? So they're community banks. They're 5 to 10 billion and under. A lot of them more and more of them are under $1 billion in assets in some cases. And they're in locations where finding talent is a challenge. So you have to partner with the best of the best in the business. You're not going to be able to hire these people in some of these locations. So you have to look to third parties to get that kind of talent in many cases. And whether you're a fintech or whether you're an investment management firm like an AssetMark, you can find the talent at that firm and buy it on a variable cost model instead of insourcing it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can see how it could be challenging to hire that top tier talent to move to Henderson, North Carolina, and live in the sticks, right? Beautiful town, but
try to find a fiduciary officer and a portfolio manager, a CFA.
Yeah, where you're CFA,
right? And it's going to be tough to find some of those people.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. The future really, I think, the way I see it, isn't about doing everything yourself. It is about collaborating. It is about finding partnerships. It is about being very clear about what your core competency and focuses are and the things that you excel at.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if you don't serve your clients well, you're probably not going to have a very stable business.
You're not going to grow.
But for sure not.
Right. You're not going to grow. The industry as a whole, as we talked about earlier, has a growth problem in and of itself.
It does.
And if you strip out, the bull market performance, growth can be, sometimes negative in some of these firms. So you got to focus on what you're good at, to your point, get the best people that you can get and partner with the best firms that you can outsource to.
I think one of the real critical things on the investment management side that firms need to have is process, procedure. You follow it. You've got a very good system in place because of what you said. I mean, the markets have been rising now for 17, 18 years. It's one thing to kind of rest on your laurels because the market's been going up, and rising market lifts all boats.
Lifts all
right?
boats,
It
right?
does. But what happens when it's not? Because we are at a time where there are geopolitical tensions, there are political tensions. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on.
Doesn't matter.
You know,
right?
you have to kind of accept that. And at some point, what arguably will be one of the longest running economic expansions and bull markets in the United States is going to have a hiccup.
There will be a hiccup. We all know it's coming.
We all know it's coming. When AssetMark tries to approach helping people with process around investment management, what does that conversation look like, and how do you help people who are asking for help to kind of get more organized and to have a real philosophy and process they're following?
Yeah, that's a huge conversation that we have at all of our firms, right? And that comes with a relationship with AssetMark, is where we will come in and take a look at your workflows and take a look at how you run your business, and make some suggestions, just like a consulting firm would do, and try to help them get better and solve problems. What's taking up time? What's not working? What are clients asking for? Just start asking some of the basic questions and give them some ideas on how to position themselves to grow, to be successful, to meet client needs, to build deeper relationships, to get into the next generation, right? We know that the great wealth transfer is coming. What are you doing to prepare? Right. So asking these kind of, higher level macro questions, and kind of starting with a top-down approach, and then kind of helping them guide into the solutions that fit for their set of clients.
Gotcha. Well, Dan, that's a pretty powerful vision for the future of the trust industry and a very practical playbook, I think, for growth. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective with us today. For me, the key takeaway is clear. The path to growth isn't about doing everything yourself. It's about strategically focusing on your core mission of fiduciary service and partnering with experts to deliver a world-class investment solution to your clients. It's also about creating capacity to allow your best people to do what they do best, build relationships and serve those clients effectively.
You got it.
That's all the time we have from here at the Association of Trust Organizations annual meeting in Nashville. A big thank you to Dan O'Brien of AssetMark for joining us.
Rusty, really appreciate the time, and I enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, thanks. We'll be back soon with another conversation. Until then, thanks for listening.